Hi everybody and welcome to Permaculture Malaga. This time I'm going to give you a site analysis as I promised the last time. And some of you have requested to have a look at a map, which ties in greatly with the site analysis, to see what does the property look like. And I can understand that because it can be quite difficult to imagine what I'm talking about if you don't really have an idea of what the site looks like. So we'll start here on the computer. I have a map I've pulled off the net. I can't remember which map site this was, but I tried several different ones. If you live in an area where one provider has low resolution maps, if Google Maps is in low resolution, you can go to Bing Maps or some other map provider and see if they have a higher resolution map of your area. But this is generally the map. I pulled it off from the net, and to do this I'm using GIMP, which is a free open source actually it's a photo editing program, but it's actually quite useful, I find, at least for these kinds of things. I'm going to show you why later. So right now this is what our area looks like, and I'll just go over here and turn on the layer for the property and the borders, and here you can see the borders around the property. And as my son says, it looks a bit like a fish turned on its side or upside down. Yeah, and I can see that. So this is generally what we have as property. I'll just point out the house that's here, and the area we're working on the terrace is up here. And the road we've been walking on has been this road, the video I made for you with the road we walked up here. And the map is facing correctly, so north is up and south is down. And we went up to the top of the hill here. And somewhere around here we sat under an oak tree. And when I was standing at the top of our property and looking down, I was standing up here and giving you a view of the property from up there. So generally this is what it looks like, and I'll be using GIMP and these maps, this map to build the site analysis. As you can see over here in GIMP, one of the nice things is you can create several layers where you can turn on and off different views, as I did here with the borders of the map. And now for a little bit of site analysis, which is the first thing you do on a new site when you're going to design it. I'm just going to go through a couple of things, and then we're going to take some more next time. The things you want to look at when you do a site analysis is if you have a topographical map, that will help, and then you want to be on site and have a look, because you can't do everything from a map. So I'm going to show you some things on the map, and I'm going to show you some things on the site. First of all, you want to map what's here, what structures are here, what roads are here, and it's quite obvious. There's the road, there's the house, and there's the water tank, and you want to map those in on your map. So looking at the map, we can mark out the buildings and the structures, and most of them, you know them already, and they are quite obvious from an image like this. So what I've done, I've created a layer over here mapping out the roads, which we can turn on now, and the structures in red and the roads in brown. Now what you see here is the main road going out here on the right, all the way down, going north-south up the mountain. And we actually have one access way into the house here, continuing on to the road we went up on the other video. And then it's actually a road across, or along, rather, not across, along the ridge here, all the way up to this point, which is where we have a well. Over here on the top right hand corner we have another road coming into the property, but this is not a road that's been used for a very long time, but it is actually still there and should be marked. Obviously you mark out the building, which is here, and I've marked out the water tank, which is just north of the building, and up here I've marked another red spot, which is the water mine. And down here is a tiny red spot. Don't know if you can see it right there. That is the well in the middle of the terrace that we're currently working on. And actually, since I made this map, we found another well which is also up here by the water mine. So that should be marked in as well. But now we have the roads and the structures marked in. So these are the ones that are there, not the ones that we want to build or anything. A site analysis is always about what is there. What is the site? What kind of site are we looking at? What does it look like? What's actually in existence right now? What you also want to do is you want to point out where is the highest location on the site and where's the lowest location in the site. So where is the highest location? Let's have a look. So where is the highest location on our property?
There.
Exactly, right in the center view, just at the border with the other property where you can see the house in the middle of the view. That is the highest point we have on the property.
That's really high.
That's really high.
You have to go up there for hours.
For hours, yeah, if you have short legs.
Yeah. Like
Now we have to find the lowest point on the property. So here we are looking south down the arroyo that's going away from the house. And the lowest point is where, Lucas?
there, down in the arroyo.
Exactly, down at the bottom of the arroyo where it hits the border with the neighbor down by the fence. So this is the highest and the lowest point on the property. You want to mark those out on your map. Now, determining what is the highest and the lowest point when you're on site can sometimes be difficult, and it is also difficult for our property here. What you can do is use a topographical map. If you don't have one available, you might be able to find one on the internet or go down to your local authorities who produce these kinds of maps. They might have them available. I have found a site called Google Zoom. That's Goolzoom. I'll put a link in the description under the video, which actually gives you the publicly available maps for your country and overlays them on top of Google Maps. And I found a topographical map for my area, and I've seen you can find all kinds of maps. You can find maps of your properties, you can find hydrological maps, but it really depends on what's available in your country. And I found several different topographical maps, and I tried different ones until I found the one that had the highest resolution. And the one I have here is with a resolution of 5 meters. Now you can see it's overlaid on here. And the way I did this, by the way, is I took a screenshot of the map without the topographical overlay, and then I took a screenshot of the map with the topographical overlay, and I cut them so they fit together in GIMP. And that means I can actually now turn the topographical overlay on and off. It seems like that it's actually two different pictures, but when I turn them on and off, you get this effect, which is quite nice. As I said, this is a 5-meter resolution topographical map. And what you can see, just to go through it, you can see the house here is sort of sitting on the edge of a ridge, and you have a small hill just south of the house. And you can see here you have the big hill which we walked up to, and as you can see, the terrain goes up this direction and it goes up in this direction. So if we look at the topographical map, we can see that the thick line here is 200 meters, and that the lowest point is in fact the one we spotted at the bottom of the arroyo down here, which would be, this would be 195, 190, 180. And you can look at this one over here. Again, you have the 200 line, and it only goes down to 195. So 180, this is the lowest spot. Now if we move up, you can see the top of the hill marked out here is 244.5. But you actually can continue up here and see that's the 250 line, that's 255, and that's 260 up here. And you have, but we were pointing in this direction, where again you have the 250, 255, and 260. So you actually have two areas which are the same height, which is the highest point on the property. This we did not see from the ground. So if I'll just color them in green, the high and the low points, we now have those on our site analysis. The third thing we're going to look at in the analysis today is the sun angles. Now I'm going to show you a bit about how to understand sun angle charts.
I know where it goes up.
You know where it goes up. Where does it go up?
Up over that mountain.
Exactly.
And where it goes
Northeast in the summer is where the sun comes up, and it goes south.
And then when it goes down, it's on the other mountain.
It goes down behind the other mountain over here in the northwest. Exactly.
So, and the moon comes up there.
Yeah. We're not so interested in where the moon comes up. So, we had another one who wanted to be in the movie?
Miriam, my little sister.
Exactly. Say hi, Miriam.
Hi.
So, going back to the sun angles. Most people understand that the sun is lower in the horizon in the winter and higher in the horizon in the summer.
Yeah.
And that the sun sets and rises differently. It rises closer to the equator in the winter and further away from the equator in the summer. Now I'm going to show you how a sun map works. If some people are confused about how these maps work, I can show you how they work, and I'm going to do that. But a thing to notice here is that the sun, it's around 7 o'clock, and the sun, you can't see the sun. There is no sunlight on us. This is indirect light from the sun coming behind the ridge. And the same thing is going to be true in the morning.
It's going down.
Yeah, it's going down behind the other ridge.
And that's when I like it. When
So there's not going to be that long a period with sunlight. As you can see, the valley on the other side, there's lots of sunlight, but here where we're standing there is none. So in the winter the sun is lower, so that means the time we have when the sun is between these two hilltops is much shorter than what you're going to see on the sun chart. And I'm going to show you that to you. Now we're going to look at a sun chart. The reason I want to show this to you is that the first many times I saw a sun chart, or at least sun angle lines drawn on site analysis, I sort of understood them, but not completely. They were just two kind of semicircular lines drawn somewhere. And the first time I was supposed to draw some myself, I just drew two sort of semicircular lines without quite understanding what they meant or how they were supposed to be interpreted. So maybe I'm the only one not quite sure how this works, but maybe some of you aren't sure either, so I wanted to explain it to you. The first thing you do is you go on the internet and you find a sun chart for your local area. I have one here. I'm just going to turn it on. There you go. I'm just going to turn off the other bits. Yeah, here you go. And you can find these for every place in the world. Now I've just overlaid it on top of the map here, so it's the center of the map that is the center of the sun chart. Now you can move the center of the sun chart if you want to a different location on your map, but generally those two things should overlap. What you should imagine this to be is like a sphere, a semicircular sphere, a three-dimensional object, and you're looking straight down on it, dead center, so you can't see that it's three-dimensional. And imagine that there's a house in the center, inside this glass sphere you're looking down upon. Now, think of the house that's in the middle of the sphere. If the sun were to move from east to west, straight overhead. Now imagine there's a guy living in the house inside this sphere, and he's looking up and at the sun moving straight from east to west. I know that's not happening many places in the real world, but just imagine it. It would rise due east, go straight up over his head, and go down due west. Now, you're standing outside the sphere and you're looking straight down on it. How would that, it's a three-dimensional object, but how would that look when you're looking straight down and you're actually only seeing that in 2D? That would be a line going straight across here from east all the way across the center here to west. Now, when you look down like that, you would only see the line, even though the path of the sun from the guy inside the house is curved across the sphere. But since you're looking straight down on the sphere, you just see a straight line. And that's actually how you're supposed to imagine the lines going here. Because you have the compass with north, south, east, and west, and then going out from the center in every direction, regardless if it's to the north, to the south, to the east, to any direction, you have the angle. And you can see in the dead center you have 90 degrees. That means something is straight over your head. The guy in the house, he's looking up, the sun is straight over his head. He doesn't cast any shadow. It's right underneath him. Now, then you have 80, 70, 60, and all the way going down to 0 degrees, which is the sun being on the horizon. And this is regardless of the direction you're going in on this circle. Those angles are the same. So if something is at 0 degrees south, it just means that the sun is on the horizon when he looks south. If it's 0 degrees north, the sun is on the horizon when he's looking north. And if something is 90 degrees, it's straight overhead and it's dead center. So when you have the two sun angles, the summer sun angle, the one in orange here, and the winter sun angle, they represent the sun at the longest day and the shortest day of the year, which is the 21st of December and the 21st of June. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not good at remembering these kinds of things. So let's start with the winter sun angle. The line outside the circle means that the sun is below the horizon. The guy sitting inside your sphere can't see the sun. He can see the sun hitting the horizon here, at this angle, which is almost southeast. And imagine, again, this is a three-dimensional sphere, and the sun is traveling on the sphere, and the guy is sitting there. So as we move closer to the center, which we are in terms of going from 0 to this line, which is 40 degrees, that's how high the sun gets above the horizon when it's due south. And then it moves out of his viewpoint here, southwest. Again, you're looking straight down on the sphere, but the sphere is three-dimensional. That's how you have to imagine it. And again, you have the summer line, and the sun actually comes above the horizon at almost northeast and travels in a circle, and it almost gets all the way up to 90 degrees. So it's almost straight overhead before it goes down again and goes under the horizon at almost northwest. So that's how you're supposed to read a chart like this. And I hope that helped. It helped me to understand how these charts are supposed to be read. Because if you just draw two sort of semicircular lines on a piece of paper, it doesn't really tell you anything if you don't know where the center is. Now in this case the center is in the center of our map, so I haven't marked it out specifically, but if you move this to, say, to the house or to somewhere else, you need to mark out where the center of these lines are, where 90 degrees is supposed to be. Now, the way I move these lines over to the drawing is I simply trace them, like so. And then if you turn this off, you're left with the lines, the sun angle lines. Now, on this site analysis, we have to remember that we had a hill going up here on the right-hand side, and we have a hill here on the left side of the house. So actually, once you get below a certain point, which is probably here, and probably here for the summer line, then you can't see the sun in the house anymore. So if you want to do a thorough site analysis, you add these angles in and say, well, this is the point in where the sun goes below the ridge and no longer casts any light on the house. If you're doing a site analysis like I'm doing here, those things should become obvious when you do the aspect of the house, but it is a nice thing to remember when you're doing this. So let's put everything in, the roads, the structures, and the high and low points on the map. Right. Those are the 3 things we're going to look at today, and in another episode I'm going to continue the site analysis and show you all the rest of the things to put in here. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you learned something, and I hope you will go home and try to make a site analysis of your own site if you haven't done so already, and continue to watch the videos and see how it goes. See you soon.